Why did the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cross the road? They were trying to get to the Shell station. Hey, what's up, comic book reading galaxy? It is me, Steven Savelli, once again representing #NerdSwag, and I am here today to bring to you the staple stash for comics that were released on April 23rd, 2014. Today we have one comic from IDW Publishing, we have one comic from DC, and we have 4 comics from Marvel. Should be a pretty good show. I think I'm drinking the comic book Kool-Aid right now because I loved every comic I read this week. So I'm very excited about that. If you like this video and you want to follow up on all of our reviews, you can click right here on this little icon. That'll make you subscribe to the channel. We'd really appreciate that, of course. And down here is our Facebook and our Twitter links. So yeah, let's get this started. The first comic we're going to review today is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 33. Now, it's a story by Kevin Eastman, Bobby Curnow, and Tom Holtz. The script for this specific comic is written by Tom Waltz with art by Mateus Santalucio, one of those two. I haven't read any of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle IDW, the current run that's out right now, but I have, of course, heard how great it's been since issue number 1. So I thought that I would check it out. I didn't do any background. I just picked up issue number 33. I read it without knowing what's happening in the story. And I'll tell you what, this was one of the most surprising books I have read in the last 1 to 2 years. I really enjoyed this book thoroughly. I feel like I got lucky and it was a really good jumping on point. I wasn't confused at all. I mean, you do have to know the characters, I guess, to not be confused to jump on. But even if you don't, not too hard to follow along. This comic really focused on Casey Jones, which was kind of cool. So apparently it had been found out that the leader of the Purple Dragons, the Hun, is Casey Jones' father. In one of the previous books, and Casey Jones is kind of dealing with that, which leads to him and April, who are, I guess, dating right now in this comic, kind of having some issues because Casey doesn't know what to do with his life. He doesn't want to go back to school. He doesn't want to play hockey. He found out his dad is the leader of the Purple Dragons, and Shredder gutted Casey Jones, and Casey's dad is still gonna work for Shredder, so he's having some daddy issues in this comic, and that's what this issue really focused on. We do have just a little bit of story advancement with the Ninja Turtles. They're right now trying to learn to hone their skills because they were attacked by the Foot and they didn't fare very well, so they're working on how to be crime fighters by using deception and working in the shadows and not being out front in front of everybody. We have Bebop and Rocksteady make an appearance in this issue, which was pretty cool to see them. They're always cool characters. They're the big meatheads, of course. So yeah, there's a special appearance by Bebop and Rocksteady. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles had a little bit of story advancement where Leonardo sits down with Splinter and they talk about what they're going to do next in their plans to fight back against Shredder, because Shredder doesn't know they're in the city right now. But we actually don't get to a point where we find out what's going to happen and what the Master Splinter and Leonardo's plans are right now. Like I said, main part of the story was focused on Casey Jones and his dad. His dad is trying to get Casey Jones to join the Foot, of course, because Shredder says that if Casey Jones leaves the Turtles and leaves the Mutant Turtles and joins the Foot, then he will basically erase all of Casey Jones' sins, what Shredder would call sins, and he would wipe his slate clean, and if he joins the Foot, he's good to go. If not, Shredder can't guarantee Hun that his son will live much longer. So Hun goes and tries to find Casey. He ends up finding him. Him and Casey Jones have a conversation, and the whole conversation is, of course, about him trying to convince his son to come with him. I won't tell you what Casey ends up doing, whether he does go with his dad, because really it's his only option to be alive, or he says, you know what, I will die to do what I know is right. So that decision is made at the end of the book, and yeah. It was really well done. I'm gonna give the writing on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 33. I'm gonna give the writing a 9.5 out of 10. I was blown away by how accessible it was for me to jump on at issue number 33. I was pleasantly surprised about the character development in this issue, and how each character really had their own voice. Super stoked about that. And then I'm going to give the art on this comic a 9 out of 10. Once again, blown away by the art. I loved how this comic looked. I loved a few of the splash pages. There was this one full page that had the Hun, his whole face was the entire page, and there were scenes like in his eyes and on his face of him talking to Shredder about how Shredder gutted his son. It was just really good art, panel layouts, and was just really cool to read. So yeah, I would highly recommend Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I'm recommending it to myself as well, because this is the only one I've read. So I think I'm gonna now that I've heard about it, and now that I've actually experienced this book, I'm gonna have to go back and get the entire collection, whether in trade paperback or in single issues. IDW Publishing, super legit. All right, next up, we're gonna go right into DC, and we're gonna review Batman Eternal number 3. Now, we know this is a weekly comic, and to do that, you need a lot of writers, of course. So the story and script of Batman Eternal is by Scott Snyder and James Tynion IV. Consulting writers are Ray Fox, John Layman, and Tim Seeley. And art on this comic is by Jason Fabic. So we found out last issue that Carmen Falcone is the one that is behind Commissioner Gordon going crazy and seeing a gun and going to jail. Now that's what the comic's laying up for us, but there's a lot of layers to Batman Eternal right now. It started in issue 1 with this crazy skip to the ending reveal, and since then we've just been revealing stuff. I feel like every other page in issue 1, 2, and now issue 3. I don't think Carmen Falcone is behind this whole thing. There's no way that in a 52 issue run that we're really seeing the head honcho of this, but for right now he is the man behind the plan, and this comic really is detailing out the turf war of Carmen Falcone coming back and taking back what Cobblepot, the Penguin, has taken from him. Falcone goes and destroys all of Penguin's armories, and we see the turf war of not just Cobblepot and Falcone start, but we see a turf war of everything about the police department now going after Batman. I'm not gonna say how or why, but the police department did get a new commissioner in this comic. It's not Gordon, and obviously it's not Bard, Jason Bard, the new character that they introduced in Batman Eternal. But Bard is there. The police department is now for sure going after Batman. They're not going to go after criminals. We have Batman trying to figure out what's going on. He doesn't know if Cobblepot is actually in on it with Falcone or if he's not. And there's another story here where we see somebody that has been one of Bruce's sidekicks before. I think making their first appearance in the New 52. I could be incorrect, but I don't even want to go over who that is. I said her. Dang, man. Anyway, her father's looks like a villain and is being led by somebody else that's not Cobblepot or Falcone, at least that we know of now. So that's the intro story to, I think, another sidekick coming to the aid of Batman and Bruce. So we'll see how that turns out. But this issue from start to finish rocked it. Lots of good action, lots of good story development, lots of more reveals. Batman Eternal is a weekly comic and continues to be one of the most solid comics, even going against bi-monthly or monthly or bi-weekly comics that are out on the stands right now. So I'll give the writing on Batman Eternal number 3 an 8 out of 10. And I'm going to give the art on Batman Eternal number 3 an 8.5 out of 10. So it's another solid read. Liked it better than last week's comic a little bit. We're still in the just story build-up phase. We haven't even started to deal with things after the initial incident. It's more, we're doing background, we're doing build-up, and but it's not getting boring. So very good comic. All right, we're gonna jump over to the other big two, or big one of the big two. We're gonna talk about Marvel Comics, and the first issue I'm gonna review today is Daredevil number 2. Now this is written by Mark Waid with art by Chris Samney. In issue number 1, we really got the introduction to Matt Murdock being in San Francisco now and not in New York. In this comic, we have Matt Murdock really going on his first big boss takedown in San Francisco. It starts in the first 3 pages by introducing the Shroud to this Daredevil comic. Now, Shroud has a backstory that's very similar to Batman, Bruce Wayne, where his parents were killed. He went out in the snowy mountains and trained in martial arts. He something extra is he took on the darkness and now has these powers. But he's a vigilante, and he crosses the line a little bit, but he is a superhero. On page like 4 or 5, we see the Shroud in his like apartment or wherever he's living, and we do really quick. There's a really quick description of who Shroud is in just a few short pages to introduce the character to this Daredevil run. We find out that basically he looks upset / depressed. He is seeing things because he's blind and he's having visions. He is making coffee using coffee grounds that were in the trash, and the coffee filter is holding those old coffee grounds. There's also a cigarette butt in there, a bottle cap is in there, and he's filtering through water through this coffee grounds that's garbage, and then he drinks it. So that quickly gives us an idea of who the Shroud is and what his mindset is and what state of mind he's in. It's basically not good. We have Matt Murdock approached by the deputy mayor, Charlotte Hastert, and she's trying to get Matt to help her take down a new crime boss that's in San Francisco. While they're talking about that, the Shroud shows up on Matt Murdock's roof. Matt Murdock goes out to speak to him. They fight. And the Shroud's like, hey, this is my town. Like, we don't need you here. And Matt Murdock is basically saying, dude, you're like small time compared to me. Like, we can both work here together or we can not. And if we're not going to work here together, I'll take you down right now and pull you to jail. And that is halted by the Shroud telling Matt Murdock he knows where the new crime boss is. And then they both go off together. They find the new crime boss at the end of the book. And there's a big reveal of who the new boss, the new crime boss, mob boss is in town. Pretty sweet. I'm going to give the writing on Daredevil number 2 an 8.5 out of 10. And I'm going to give the art on this comic a 9 out of 10. There's something about the aesthetic of what Chris Samney is doing that I just really enjoy. In some of the scenes, the background is not, there's no detail in the background at all. It's just like in some of the fight scenes, there's Daredevil and Shroud fighting, and there's no background. It's just a solid color. I actually really like that for some reason. It feels very pop art and just really catches my eye. I don't know. I really like it. So this is another solid read. This is number 2, and I highly recommend anybody that's not reading Daredevil to read number 1 and 2. Get the digital comic, borrow it from a friend, pick it up in a comic book store and look through it real fast. I guarantee that you'll really enjoy these books by Mark Waid. He's slaying this. All right, the next book I'm going to review is Original Sin number 0 out of 8. So we know that Original Sin is going to be the big summer event for Marvel. It's going to be written by Jason Aaron, at least the main story run. But this number 0, which is titled Who is the Watcher, is actually written by Mark Waid, the guy that wrote Daredevil and plenty of other comics that I'm reading right now. Art on this book is by Jim Chung. So we know that with Jim Chung, the art is going to be impeccable. Everything this guy does is the art of Jim Chung is so vivid and so pretty looking on panels. I just gawk over it every time. I'm like, I want this whole page to be a wallpaper on my desktop, or I want all these printed out in posters. Every single page and panel is that cool looking. So who is the Watcher? This really is gonna introduce to people that don't know who the Watcher is, why he's important to the Marvel universe. And Mark Waid does this introduction by using Nova as kind of the person that gets us to find out who the Watcher is. This is really important if you're going to read Original Sin. I definitely believe it gives a background on how the Avengers and characters in the Marvel Universe feel about the Watcher and what they even know about the Watcher. And it also gives us, we actually get not an origin story of the Watcher, but kind of the background of why the Watcher is what the Watcher is. We know that the Watcher is basically chronicles history, knows the future, knows the past, knows every reality. And the Watcher doesn't speak, and the Watcher's not supposed to get involved with what's happening. Whether he sees something happening right, that's good. Or if you see something that's going on that's not for the benefit of the universe, he's not supposed to interject and stop it from happening. Now, I read X-Men, All New X-Men, I think last week or the week before. We're talking about how Beast messed up the space-time continuum, and he was talking to a character in the shadows. That was the Watcher. So we see that the Watcher is, I don't know, getting frustrated with Earth, or really seeing it going down a path it can't be going down, because Beast with messing up the time, Age of Ultron and Wolverine messing up time, like all the stuff that's been happening lately, the Watcher is just getting jittery, I guess. And in this comic, we find out why, kind of a little bit, and what the Watcher is really trying to do. This almost reads like the Watcher comic, number 1. It also almost reads as a Nova comic. I reviewed Nova, I think number 16 last week, and this comic of Original Sin number 0 is the best Nova comic I've ever read. Mark Waid has a great voice for Nova, about being a young, immature kind of jokester and jumping to conclusion and wanting to feel important and all that. I am not going to give away too much in this story here. Just know that whether you're going to read Original Sin or not, if you like Nova, you need to pick up Original Sin number 0. If you're reading the current Nova run, got to pick this up. If you're going to read Original Sin, I think this is mandatory. It's a number 0 because number 1's going to jump into Original Sin, which the Watcher gets shot or dies. It's going to jump right into that in number 1. But this really is obviously the first issue of this new big event. Definitely mandatory. I'm going to give the writing on this book a 9.5 out of 10. There's lots of character development for the Watcher, who doesn't even speak. Well, he kind of does in this comic, but through actions, not through words. So we have the Watcher getting huge amount of character development. Nova is written perfectly. The interaction between Nova and the Watcher. So we have the Watcher, who's the all-knowing chronicler of history. And we have Nova, Sam Alexander, who's a teenage kid that barely knows right from wrong. And they interact together. So you have the all-knowing and the all-ignorant, basically, in one comic having interaction. And it is great. And Sam Alexander actually interacts with the Watcher the way the Watcher hasn't been interacted with ever. And it's like the innocent of a child can bring out the best or worst in people. And that's just a really cool theme to this comic. I'm gonna give the art on this a 9.5 out of 10. This isn't a universe changing book, but from start to finish, this is super solid. This I can't imagine this number 0, who is the Watcher, being much better. They laid up perfectly. All right, I've talked about Original Sin for way too long. I apologize. I just really, really liked this. It was lots of pages. It was great to look at and had great story. Good times. All right, next up we have Guardians of the Galaxy number 14. Now this is a double-sized anniversary issue. It has 3 stories in it. It had a $4.99 price tag. Marvel's killing me right now with these high price tags on all their comics and these anniversary issues that have multiple stories in them that are thrown together real fast. But oh man, I still like them. I still like these issues. Why do I like them? There's 3 stories that are super short. It's $4.99. They get me, man. They're getting me. I mean, they wouldn't make them $4.99 unless they knew people would buy them. And guess what? It's in my hands. They win. I lose. All right, let's review this damn comic. Story number 1 is in this 3-story anniversary issue is written by Brian Michael Bendis. I don't know who the penciler is Nick Bradshaw, with Jason Masters and Todd Knock helped with that. The first story in this book is really the continuation of what's happening in the Guardians of the Galaxy run. All that really happens in this first story is that all the Guardians are compromised. Each has been captured, and they're not all captured by the same people. They're all captured by different people that are out after the Guardians. At the end of the Trials of Jean Grey, talked about that basically everyone in the galaxy is after the Guardians. They've made enemies everywhere, and you knew it would come back to bite them. And boom, it has in this issue. The Guardians of the Galaxy are compromised. Every single one is taken hostage. A weird surprise in this comic is out of nowhere, Flash Thompson as Venom is with the Guardians. I read an article or a blog post by Brian Michael Bendis that this issue actually came out after. It was supposed to initially come out after Free Comic Book Day, which is the first Saturday in May. I think it's May 2nd, May 3rd, May 2nd. I don't remember. But this issue is supposed to come out after Free Comic Book Day, and I guess on Free Comic Book Day there is a Guardians of the Galaxy comic that shows how Venom became part of the Guardians. But this came out before that, so we already have Venom in the Guardians. He's just there. There's no talking about how he got there or why he's on the team or anything. He's just there, which is very weird. Anyway, all the Guardians get compromised, and that's how the book ends. Or that's how the story 1 ends. So that's whatever. Story 2 is actually pretty freaking sweet. It is really the origin story of Groot. We start out on Groot's homeland where there's a bunch of trees just like him, and every single one of them says, "I am Groot." It's not just Groot. They all say, "I am Groot," which is funny. So we get a backstory on Groot and why he probably is a Guardian. And really the sum of it is he cares about living organisms. When his other Groot people wanted to kill or hurt a living species on his planet, he protects that species and wants to keep them living. So we find out why Groot is a Guardian and how he got off that planet. We don't see how he joined the Guardians or what he did after he got off the planet. We just see Groot younger, probably adolescent, him sticking up for the lower race or lower species on his planet. That leads him to being an outcast, and then he leaves the planet. That was a pretty cool story. I liked it. And then the third story we skip ahead to Earth 3014, which is where the Guardians of the Galaxy, there's lots of books of the future Guardians. This is where we get Yondu from, and a lot of the other Guardians. We get sorry, I just got to look through this real quick. I didn't sink my teeth into this third story very much because it was kind of quick and the art was sketchy and the story was there wasn't too much of the story. But we have Vance Astro in the future, who's the leader of the Guardians, who has Captain America's shield as a symbol of freedom and justice and all that. It's just in 3014 the Guardians are looking for a way to save the human race, so they need to go back in time to an event that happened that they need to fix. I'm assuming they're going to go back in time and meet up with the current Guardians. If not, they might get their own comic run, or they might just forget that this part 3 of this random anniversary issue actually happened and nothing ever comes from it. Yeah. So I'm just going to review the first story, because that's really the story that is continuing the Guardians of the Galaxy series. I'm going to give the writing on that a 6 out of 10, and I'm going to give the art on that comic a 7 out of 10. It is very cool seeing Venom out with the Guardians, and he's kind of tailing along with Drax, and they're both brutes, so it's pretty sweet. Anyways, Guardians of the Galaxy number 14, double size anniversary issue, $4.99. I bought it. Yeah, cool. All right, and the last comic of the week is Uncanny Avengers number 19. This is written by Rick Remender with art by Daniel Acuna. This story has, from issue 1 to issue 19, really been one giant story arc, and it is still going. I really like the detail on all the characters that Rick Remender has in here. We're now on Planet X in the future, 6 years after the Earth was destroyed. And we have Iman, who's basically ruling this Planet X because she's the one that raptured all the mutants to go to a new home planet. She has an X Council, which has Cable, Cyclops, Storm, Magneto, Jean Grey, Quicksilver, Psylocke. Really cool, and she's trying to convince them that they need to kill Havoc. So we have that X Council going after Havoc and Beast, who now have been joined by Kang. Joined by Kang, Iron Man, which is Arno Stark, not Tony Stark, May Parker, Strife, Doctor Doom, Abomination, Deathlock, and a few other characters who've come out of their time to join up with Havoc to go back in time to stop the Earth from being destroyed. They're attacked by the X Council, and Havoc and his group need to find a way to work with Strife and Doctor Doom to go back in time and save the Earth from being destroyed. We find out that Sunfire and Wolverine actually were not killed at the end of the Earth being destroyed. They actually right now are in cells, and we have Sunfire having his arm out, and he's burning Wolverine, and Wolverine's getting burned and regenerating his skin. So Wolverine and Sunfire are in cells, basically in pain. They've been in pain for 6 years straight. They're basically in the definition of hell. They are in pain. They talk about Iman, Banshee, and Dakin talk about how they miss them screaming. Apparently Wolverine and Sunfire, when they first were put in their cells and they were just in pain, they would just scream constantly. And now the pain has become numb, and they're just burning and in pain all the time. We have two of Havoc's group, or a group from Havoc's group, a subgroup that goes after and tries to release Wolverine and Sunfire from their prison that Iman has them in. And that's where the story ends, at least without giving spoilers away. Like I said, this Uncanny Avengers continues to be, I think, a very, very great and detailed comic. If you're looking to just pick up a comic and expect to jump on and understand everything that's happening, this is not the comic for you. I wouldn't recommend that at all. You really need to read all 19 issues to really get what's going on here, which is unfortunate for new readers, but it's very fortunate for us readers who have been sticking on this story from the beginning, because it's very rewarding to see all the storylines and all the things that have happened in this whole run really come together and mean something, and that stuff wasn't forgotten. That was written, over a year ago, a year and a half. I think this run's been going, and it continues to not disappoint for me. I'm gonna give the writing on Uncanny Avengers number 19, I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. Like I said, I'm drinking the comic book Kool-Aid right now, and I'm really enjoying these comics this week. I must be in a really good mood. But I don't think that's the case. I think the comics this week were fantastic. So 9 out of 10 on the writing. I'm gonna give the art on this, Daniel Acuna, I've kind of been down on a little bit, but I'm gonna give the art on this an 8.5 out of 10. I really liked how the future X-Council looked. I loved all those characters. Magneto is so cool in his old man phase and I just really enjoy his character. We have some great splash pages. We have fantastic action. It is very futuristic looking. And yeah, I really enjoyed the art and the writing on this comic a whole lot. And lots of good character development, and the plot has thickened, and we're actually moving along in the story. So great stuff. All right, that's it for this week. So thanks for watching. I really, really do appreciate it. I love comics. I have since I was a kid, and I'm super glad that now I'm reviewing comics on a weekly basis, and it is really fun for me. So I hope you're enjoying it too. If you do like what I have to say, if you like just hanging out with me for a little bit every single week, like I said in the beginning, if you can click this logo up here, that'll make you subscribe to the channel. Basically, it just gives you updates that I uploaded another review and other reviews that we have on this channel. Would love to build a big community. That's why we have our Facebook and Twitter links down here. Love to have interaction with you guys. So if you can comment below if I made any mistakes, if there's comics that are out right now that I need to read that I'm not reading. Hint, hint, The Walking Dead. I'm still way backed up on that. Yeah, if I made any mistakes, you like what I said, if I'm an idiot, if I'm fun, whatever, just write some comments down below. I'd love to interact with you guys throughout the week until I post my next review. And yeah, until next week, you guys have a fantastic rest of your week. Read some comics, go out and buy Daredevil, go out and buy Original Sin. Those are really, really top of the level books this week. And if you like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, number 33 is the one for you. All right, until next time, I will see you later.